Hear me. Thank you, everyone, for waiting. Sorry about that. My OBS decided to have a complete seizure and die.
At the perfect moment as well.
At the perfect moment. As soon as I fucking start streaming, it's just like, nah, I'm not today.
Actually, how about nah?
How about no?
No, Scott!
Yeah, how about no? Oh my god, that is so very aggravating.
It is.
Yep. All right. I don't have anything there, so I'll leave those alone because I only need these two things up. All right. So welcome back. I gotta let them know that it's back. Let me see.
Hope everybody is doing well today.
Yeah. I really hope everybody's doing better than I've been doing today. Because apparently I've not had a particularly stellar day. Alright. Yeah, Andrew won Fireballs the Tavern. Alright.
All is right in the world.
Apparently all is right in the world. Alright. So, with that being said... Hi, hon. Hopefully we didn't lose all of our viewers all at once. Because right now it's saying I only have one person watching.
My count is oscillating between 11 and 12, so, you know.
Oh,
same for me.
So, it looks like you have retained some of the raiders. And hopefully some more will pop back in now that you are actually live again.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus. God. Yeah, on the upside with my computer, it doesn't take long for it to reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I have a solid state drive as my primary drive.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you are an asshole.
You know, just thought it would give you a little pep up there.
Uh-huh. At least increase my heart rate.
I've thought of a wonderful present for you. Shall I give you despair?
Yeah, solid state drives are
On your
probably
knees.
my
I want you
favorite
to
computer
beg for
upgrade of
forgiveness.
the last, like, I don't know, 5, 10 years. I think, yeah, 10 years would be about when I got my first one. Because having that for your OS drive is just huge.
Oh yeah, immensely. The hell's the Twitch stats having? Twitch stats is having an issue here. What are you going on with you? Okay. Weird, but we take the scuff with what we got. All right. So with that being said, which monitor? Okay, primary monitor. Cool. So, yep, we got the wheel. Good. All right. So a few announcements before we get into the thick of things. We have our sponsors. Links are down below. Please check them out. Not going to go too heavily into them. I go into them every stream. At this point, people probably know what the hell it is. Other announcements, we're still doing Stellaris Eterna. We're taking entries for Season 3. So if you want to have your faction come meet us, for myself and Kendagamra to interact with, by all means, use that. Fill out what you can. You don't have to fill out everything. I'll work with what I got. All right? Other than that, I am in the process right now of recruiting players that are streamers into a Friday night D&D game. So I'm working with people that aren't already in my games that I play off stream. So that's why certain people are not getting invites. It's not because I don't want them as players. It's just, in this case, I want a variety of input.
Yeah. Because you're playtesting your campaign setting.
Yes, I am playtesting a campaign setting. I'm writing for D&D, Pathfinder, primarily. Those are the two big ones. So that is mainly what I'm going for. So there's that. All right, now it's saying I have 12. Okay. That hurts. Because how many people rated in?
I think it was 22 that I saw, so maybe 10 people wandered off.
Yeah, lost half in the process because they can't refresh the page. Because if they don't refresh the page, it doesn't count them.
Yep.
Fun fact, the Discord I was dealing with earlier that I mentioned to you, I pointed out to them they're like, oh, you can't have more than three tabs up for Twitch and still have it count. And you apparently, according to them, you also had to talk every so many minutes and it wouldn't count you. Hey, Daryl, how am I doing today? I have had a rough day and the scuff didn't help.
This is a great opportunity for slaughter.
But I am surviving. I'm getting through it. It's not the end of the world. And of course, you, like everyone else, has to light my damn place on fire. This is why I have these things. I get golems for a reason. I make a small little army of golems. Thank you for the shout out. No problem, man. Every time someone does a check-in, I give them a shout out. It is the least I can do.
Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
Against my moral compass.
Your f***ing moral compass is a roulette wheel!
I think I already did Angela a shout out, but I'll do it again. Yeah. Someone also asked me why I don't do the number check-in thing, like where I have one little thing you hit and you put in numbers and stuff. I like each check-in being separate. For one, and two, it makes it easier for me to just copy and paste the names. So there's that. Someone was a little concerned about it taking me too long to get my computer restarted and everything like that. I'll be happy to let you know, the wonderful people from NSCW, I have a solid state drive, which means it takes my computer all of like less than 30 seconds to boot up.
Yeah.
I have the XP up so I can gain level stats. That is an interesting idea, and I may consider it, but the problem is I stream tomorrow as well.
Nice. I was guessing that was Wizen. I was looking at my Minecraft screen, but I'm pleased to see that I was correct.
Yes. You and Wizen seem to be the ones that like to torture me with that sound the most. What was that, Han? No, because if I get rid of it, then you will put it back without telling me. Got you, jail. Just hit add jail, but here. Oh, it's okay. I was like... There, let me type something back to them. Alright, there you go. Yeah, I've played Power World. I've started over multiple times with Power World. And I've just gotten to the point with it where it's like, I like the game. I have zero interest in starting over with it again.
As I was trying to tell you, there are no bullets left in this gun, you see?
It's just...
Observation. This is a great opportunity for slaughter.
It's not a game that I like basically keep hitting the reset button on.
Yeah, I mean, that is tricky for games. Like Minecraft, every once in a while, I don't mind starting fresh because that, like, ramp up at the beginning can be really fun.
Oh, yeah. Especially with certain mod packs.
Yes.
One of the mod packs I do plan on playing later is Dawncraft.
Not familiar with that one.
You wouldn't care for it much in Minecraft.
Okay.
Because it has no tech. But it has a lot of quests and stuff built into it. And it's a D&D adventure in Minecraft.
Right on.
So, it's something I kind of want to give it a try and enjoy that. One mod pack that's I've been suggested multiple times, and I will never fucking touch it, is RL Craft.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have zero interest in playing Dark Souls Minecraft Edition.
I was in somebody's stream the other day who was playing some modded Minecraft. It was like a custom mod pack they put together. And I was talking about different mod packs in the chat, and someone suggested Greg Tech for me. And I was like, no, thank you.
No.
That is that is the opposite of what I find fun. I'm glad you enjoy it, but no.
Nah. I have zero interest in Greg Tech. That just overly complicates the crafting process, like majorly.
That is my essence of why I would not care to play it.
So yeah. But anyway, I was saying earlier, so I am recruiting people for the D&D game. I'm going to primarily aim for streamers, so that way we can all stream. If any of the players want to stream it while we're playing, I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me. My main goal is just to get this playtest done. Because I need to make sure this campaign setting will work for more than outside Pathfinder. Is here, but lurking. That's appreciated. Lurks are taken here. We have a nice dark corner for you somewhere over there. You can go over there, lurk and brood. Like with the rest of the rogues. It's like, I have an edgy backstory, and I grew up on these streets. It's like, oh, okay, and why are you over here with all these people staring at us? Like, you wouldn't comprehend my edgy backstory. Da, da, da. Oh, okay, then I'm just going to go over here. No, wait, you're supposed to want to hear about my,
Hear about my 14 dead families.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, thanks. So one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick before we get too far into things is something that came up that I found. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I have to restore this window. All right. So remember how we were talking about how Vanguard is not necessarily a good program to use?
Yeah.
I found out why Vanguard has been banned from every computer that does government work.
Oh?
Yeah.
Why is that?
The reason why is because Genshin Impact used an anti-cheat program, and I had the name of it, and now it's disappeared. Because I had to refresh the page. But Genshin Impact's anti-cheat granted kernel-level access.
Uh-huh.
And they got hacked.
Whoops.
And in the process of that hack, over 1 million computers got locked down with ransomware. Yeah. Before they could even shut down their game to stop the spread.
Wow.
Over 1 million computers. It took them a couple days to get it fixed.
Yeah, I imagine.
And yeah, oh boy. Not to mention, there's a program that ignores the anti-cheat for Genshin Impact. And apparently it also works for Vanguard.
Interesting.
I'm not going to say its name because I don't want to encourage people to cheat, but It is an actual program. It exists, and it's like $5.
Huh.
So not only is it an expensive anti-cheat, an expensive cheat program, it completely bypasses Vanguard and, Genshin Impact's anti-cheat.
Wow.
So it's like, wow, you guys are putting your players' computers at risk, and you're worthless. Congrats! Way to go for the twofer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know some people really like the games that Vanguard uses, which is like Valorant and League of Legends and things of that nature. I don't blame you. If you want to take the risk and you decide that the game is fun enough for you to take that risk, by all means, do so. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Both of their communities I've experienced, from what I've experienced online and dealing with them, have been toxic as hell.
Yeah, I know some Genshin players who are nice, but
No, not Genshin. I'm talking about Valorant and League of Legends.
Ah, okay.
No, Genshin people I've run into have been pretty chill.
They just want their waifus.
Yeah, they want their waifus and husbandos.
Yes.
Which is like, okay. Cool. I just popped my jaw. God, that hurt.
Have you tried not being a bony little scarecrow man?
Hey, I have weight on me now. I'm 200. I'm 210, man. I got some weight.
Okay.
By the way, the anti-level cheat program that Genshin had that got hacked had kernel ring 0 level access.
Wow.
Yeah. That is bad. All right. For those of you in the audience who have no clue what we're talking about, kernel ring 0 is essentially, if you have access to that, you have access to everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing you don't have access to. All right.
In other
So
words, it sounds a bit like a master key program.
the way it's supposed to work, this anti-cheat program, Vanguard works the same way, is it accesses your BIOS. So that way it can read all of your hardware, read all the software that's running, and you can't hide it. That is the whole point of it, what they're supposed to be trying to do.
Right.
The problem is these cheat programs are programmed to design to ignore that detection process.
Yeah, I mean, you always can get into an arms race. It's like, oh, I made an anti-cheat program. Well, guess what? I made a cheat program that knows exactly how yours works and gets around that.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help that some of the people who designed the anti-cheat program eventually leave the company and work on cheat programs because cheat programs are more profitable. And then whenever their cheat they start running into like cheat programs are becoming rampant, there's not enough security, so on and so forth, they'll go back to their company and go, hey, I'll help you design another anti-cheat that'll defeat this cheat program. They get hired back, make more money, and then repeat the cycle again. And so many people are like, oh, that doesn't happen. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That does happen. All right? There are plenty of hackers out there that want just the money. And they found out the legal way to make the money is to do this.
Yep.
Because it's not illegal to make a cheat program.
I mean, there are illegal things you could do theoretically while making a cheat program, but you're right. Making a cheat program is not illegal in and of itself.
Yeah. Making a cheat program for a video game is not illegal. It is unethical, but it is not illegal.
Now, you could get sued by the company if you, for instance, worked for them producing anti-cheats and then use that knowledge to go produce a cheat program. That might violate a clause of your contract or something.
But at first, they have to catch you.
Exactly.
And catching whoever makes a cheat program is near impossible. It is so stupidly easy to hide that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to share that information because it was brought up to me not too long ago, and I was like, oh, okay, we will deal with that. And I was like, okay, I want to share more information to educate people better. So there is that. The D&D 2024 discussion ban has been lifted.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the famous people who got access to the book early, unlike the rest of us peasants, are now getting to talk about it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've watched a few of the videos.
For the most part, people said it is not bad.
Yeah, I've seen that some of the classes really did get a useful adjustment. Other classes, like, just had all the flavor sucked out of them. I've seen comments specifically for Ranger. It's like, you've made it combat effective, but you took away the things that made it Ranger to a large degree.
Yeah. My opinion still is of the mindset that I'm going to stick with the 2014 stuff and then get the PDF somehow and make an errata page.
Yeah, well, in theory, most of it is supposed to come out in, like, the Creative Commons. So theoretically, they're going to be doing their own webpage of it. But we'll see how long that takes and how complete it is.
Yeah. Okay, come on. Can I please have my Baldur's Gate 3 come back? That would be nice. Hey, Jazzy Jewel, you were playing games. Jazzy, what were you playing? Because apparently games and demos is, not something I can really have an idea of what you were doing. All right. Make that go away. So the 2024 stuff is fine, but there is other D&D news that is worth talking about, which is the sudden hiring of several people in Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
Did you hear about who they hired?
Not
No.
specifically.
All right. I don't remember. Oh, the Vici must be banned. They were trying to sell me viewers.
Yeah.
All right. Moondragon is apparently dancing while dodging bullets. Here lurking as I'm going to sleep. I was playing a game called Uncharted 4. Oh, Uncharted 4 is good. And have a good sleep. Rest well. So, a couple of people they hired. One was from Microsoft, and the other was from Blizzard Entertainment.
Sticking in their Seattle group.
Yep. And in particular, the guy they hired from Blizzard Entertainment was their monetization specialist.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. And the guy they hired from Microsoft was their Microsoft storefront specialist.
Uh-huh.
So, can we say microtransaction hell? Because that's what's coming. Now, I'm not sure if you watched the convention that's been happening recently that D&D Hasbro went to go attend.
Does not ring a bell, no.
Okay, I
You
forget.
mean Gen Con coverage?
I think it was Gen Con, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Gen Con occurred, and D&D was there. And the thing they showed off first, they didn't show off gameplay, like, how do I put this? They didn't show off they were showing off their virtual tabletop. They didn't show off how it rolled, how it combat worked, or anything like that. No, the very fucking first thing they showed off were two models of one model of Asterion, one model of Karak from Baldur's Gate 3 as minis in the virtual tabletop.
Uh-huh.
And it is heavily hinted that all these minis are going to be microtransactions.
Really?
Yep. So they're definitely pushing that microtransaction route. Bot? What about bot? What bot? I killed Lavishi. I know Lavishi was a bot.
What the hell is this?
But yeah, no, they're pushing microtransactions really hard. And it looks like they're going to try to get people to strictly play on the VTT, especially if you have a D&D Beyond account.
Okay, then.
So, I'm never getting a D&D Beyond account.
Yeah, don't know why I would bother.
Keep pushing exit on my phone. Oh! That sucks. Hopefully that gets better for you soon. So there is that. I will say that from what I saw of their showing of the VTT, yes, it looks pretty. Kurita, hi, how are you? I'm doing fine. How are you? I mean, the VTT looks pretty, but I'm going to be brutally honest. With the amount of work that it requires to do, I do not think it's going to be a particularly useful virtual tabletop.
Fair enough.
The biggest reason is, as a DM, there are times where I have to quickly throw together a map because the players decide to fight somewhere I wasn't planning. And the virtual tabletop does not adjust well. Oh, hey, 2 bots in one stream. Okay. We got 2
Well,
of them.
there's
up in the
also Tabletop Simulator, which seems to be doing much better. I am in a new D&D. Well, I'm in one D&D game at the minute, that has that specifically, and the DM tells me he actually loves sitting there creating the maps as he likes the idea of having it 3D'd.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. Ghost Assassin, I'm like the wind. You can't see me, but I'm here, lurking. Okay. And you got a ghost,
Skulls for the skull throne! Blood for
a ninja,
the blood god!
and Star-Eyed. And there's Inquisition's entry. Alright. So, while that's doing its thing, slowly loading. Alright.
Okay, I've never seen this structure before. This is cool.
And what game?
This is Minecraft. I'm playing the Odyssey 3 mod pack.
Ah.
And it's got a mod called Graveyard, which I think I've seen that mod, but I don't think I've seen this version of it. And it's got like an underground crypt structure, which is pretty fucking cool.
Game? What the fuck is going on? What is this? Where am I? Oh, I'm in some sort of sanctum? Oh, it hasn't finished loading. It's taking its time loading. Okay. I was like, what is going on with my Baldur's Gate? It's acting weird. Alright. I'll give it a minute to load. Taking its sweet time. If Baldur's Gate keeps messing up, I'm gonna have to go to a backup. I mean, that'll suck, but that's life.
Yep.
Alright. I will say that their show was nice. Everything looked neat. It was all cool. But I could tell that their virtual tabletop is not adaptable.
Hmm.
Don't waste a step.
So there is that. Everything loaded? Alright, looks like it is. Okay. So let me hit this. Send us to that. Oh, it's still on Final Fantasy VIII. Let me change that to Baldur's Gate. And it's not the right size! Alright, problem solved. Alright. And let me get the chat set up. Give me a second. Because I just realized some people have wondered, like, could they see the chat in the YouTube videos?
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I'm gonna try to put... There's already a chat box here. Let me turn it on. And put it below you guys. There we go. Alright. That should be fine?
So what you're saying is we are above the chat.
Yes, you are above the chat. Let me shrink it down some, though. Ah! Son of a gun.
Son of a gun.
As I was trying to tell you, there are no bullets left in this gun, you see?
Alright, there we go. That should be good. And that's Haroon.
Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
It's all coming together. Yes. He was playing Honkai Star Rail. Also heard...
Nice.
Yeah, I heard good things about that game.
I have a friend who is greatly addicted to it.
Do I know this friend?
Morgue Dweller.
Oh, Morgus. Oh, you know what?
Observation. This is a
That
great
makes a lot of
opportunity
sense.
for slaughter.
Yeah. With what she's into, that makes so much sense.
And, you know, all the waifus and husbandos.
Oh yeah, more waifus and husbandos. Nothing wrong with that. All right, so before I get into that and get more into this, let's spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
All right, how to deal with bad players.
All right. So, as usual, there are a couple of ways we can interpret that. I would say that we could talk about both problematic players and people who just aren't grasping the rudiments of the hobby. Like, bad in the sense that they don't quite yet understand D&D.
Yeah, I would say we can break it down into inexperienced players and players who are actively problematic.
Yep.
All right.
I have one of each of those.
With inexperienced players, it's relatively easier to deal with them than purposely bad players. Inexperienced players, you just have to educate them. Give them time, let them grow, let them breathe, let them cook.
Yes.
All right? Give them time to cook.
I will also specifically say that, Dungeons and Dragons may not be for everyone. So if you have a new player that isn't sure if they're, going to like it or not, you can try running a one-shot with that inexperienced player and maybe some of your more experienced players and see if they dig it. And if they don't, that's fine too.
Yep. And for some people, there are other games that are better. World of Darkness for some, who if they're into like modern horror, Call of Cthulhu, Starfinder, Star Wars, whatever.
And some folks just aren't, role-play oriented. It's fine if you're a board gamer. I've got friends that I don't think would enjoy playing RPGs. And that's fine. I can hang out with them and watch bad movies. I can hang out with them and play board games. I'd be happy to let them try RPGs if they want and, try to give them a good experience. But it's not for everybody. No hobby is.
Yeah. And it is what it is. Then we encounter the other problem.
Well, I was going to say, Inquisition, you have any thoughts on introducing new players to the hobby? Inquisition.
In that regard, I would usually just chat to the person, and in at least one case I have said to somebody, this is how it works. If it sounds like something you would like, let me know. You can sit in on one of my sessions, and then you'll know whether you really actually do like the idea and want to join in.
Yeah, that's another great thought, actually. Let them observe a session or, play a minor character in an ongoing session.
I have actually had a DM do that, where, if I remember right, I was very ill, and I said I'd show up and try and stick around for as long as I could. Then the DM just went, tell you what, I don't think you're well enough to play your character. Do you mind playing as this side character for as long as you're around? I had told them previously, look, I don't think I'll be here longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, the DM just went, okay, here's some of the background and what the character was what I was trying to get the character to do. I went, okay, just ad-libbed it from there and went forward. And I dropped out, came back later on, like you were saying about having a character, like then play a side character was basically what I did. Came back to find out that they'd accidentally killed the character.
Whoops.
And all I could say was, well, yeah, per Lewis, I knew him well. Well, not really.
Like, sort of knew him. Not anymore.
But, as I was saying, back to the main point. The idea of letting someone who's new to it play that role, I would be very careful about making sure the character survived. Because, and I'm sure the two of you can attest to this, your first character you're going to like, and if they've seen how the D&D game went, there's a chance they might go, I actually liked role-playing as that character. Could I have the character sheet, because I want to play with that a bit before making one of my own thoughts, because everything was set up with that one I played, which is helpful for the newer player for obvious reasons, but
Oh yeah.
Well, you get what I'm saying, anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah. So who is your newer player that you would say? Do you want to share their name, or is it?
Is that directed at Inquisition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather not say at this point in time. They're not on Discord or anything like that. What I can say, actually, is I am directly related to this person.
Oh, okay.
So I would rather not say anything about this person due to the fact I'm not going to get myself in trouble or him.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Anywho, like,
So,
what were your
oh, go ahead.
camera? Like, what were your? I'm sure, like, what were your way? What's the best way you think you've introduced somebody to the game?
So, a couple of years back, I actually had multiple people looking to get into the game at the same time. One of them was a friend of one of my current players. Another was my friend and her husband. And then, so basically, I had a group of 5 people, 2 of which had played the game before, and 3 of which had no experience whatsoever. So, I walked them through some basic character creation, and 5th edition has an adaptation of the old module Sunless Citadel from 3rd edition, and it's in, I think, Tales from the Yawning Portal, and I just started running that for them, and I let it be a little more loosey-goosey than I normally would have. Like, one of the characters was very much of the, I'm just going to do something so random, and I was trying to be a lot more tolerant of that than, ordinarily I would be. Because he's just kind of exploring, he's finding his way, what he enjoys about the game,
Yeah.
and that's fine. If I had then gone on to say, hey, I want you to join this active game that I'm running, I would probably have couched that in a, but this is going to be a little more serious in tone. If that's kind of acceptable to you, if that doesn't interest you, that's fine. But yeah, I set up that way I could introduce multiple players at once, and I think that's also a good way to do it because you have, while you do have some experienced players to fall back on, you also have multiple people who are learning, so that one person doesn't feel like, well, gee, I'm the only person here who doesn't know what the hell's going on. So it I think maybe softens the experience for them just a little bit, which can be nice.
Oh yeah. Basically, your goal is to soften the experience of joining a game the best you can for newer players.
Yeah.
Because that is always going to be the hardest thing to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
At least for newer players.
Yeah, and the other thing with newer players is, of course, it's going to take a lot of patience. And, you know yourself best. If you're a patient kind of person, great. If you're not a patient kind of person, you may be able to point the interested newbie to someone else who is going to be a little better for them.
Yeah. And that sometimes works. The thing... How do I want to put this? The thing you always have to be worried about with any kind of, like I said, newer player is they may not have always the most accurate viewpoint of D&D.
Hmm.
And that could be a problem.
Sure. Yeah, some of them might have formed ideas based on popular media, or, you have your Critical Role fans who thinks that every GM's going to be a Matt Mercer. There can be a lot of expectations from people who haven't played before.
Right.
Well, that is fine. You also have to keep in mind that sometimes new players may just... You might have two players who just clash together, and because one of them's new, it's a bigger problem than if the two of them knew how to play the game for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, you have to be... if you have experienced players there and new players, you're going to want to make sure that the experienced players are also going to exercise patience with the newbies. Because otherwise, you can be the most patient GM in the world, but if you've got an asshole at the end of the table going, why don't they know what the fuck they're doing? And trying to rush them through decisions and shit, it's not going to be a pleasant play experience.
Yeah, no.
Plus, that would easily cost you a player. I mean, I remember in one case where... I forget exactly who told me this. There was a DM where he was basically told by the player, I didn't know D&D was a game where one player could take the fun from another.
Holy shit, that's
Yeah.
That's a thing. And that does happen on occasion.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the stories I came across was on YouTube. And it was... the story they determined was apparently the worst DM he has ever seen. And it's like, wow. And like when I heard the story, I sort of agreed with him, but not entirely.
Okay.
I was just like, that is pretty heinous.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, no, that's a no. That's gonna go badly.
That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Yeah. And it was just so bad. I was like, oh man, what is this doing? It's weird. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I had to deal with a guy who was whooping my ass with something fierce. MCG. What were you playing? Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I heard that game was okay. Like, I didn't hear, like, great things about it, but I haven't heard terrible things.
Finding my way.
I mean, what about you guys? Have you guys heard that game?
I don't remember hearing about it specifically.
I have heard of it, but not enough that I would want to play it.
That's fair. It's one of my favorites from the PS2. Ah, okay.
Nice.
It's an old PS2 game. Got it. Alright.
Oh, there's a bunch of treasure chests. Let me go get those.
Alright, let me run that way. What's this? Oh, I can...
Oh, that's cute. They think lava and broken ground is going to stop me. I've got a jetpack.
Nothing wrong with that. I think I'm going to lose my rage. Nope.
What was the other part of your wheel? Like, I know there was more on the wheel. What was the rest?
Oh, we were talking about, problem players or new players. Basically, how do you deal with player-related problems? And the two halves of that were basically, new players who cause, not necessarily problems, but issues with their newness. And then, just straight-up problematic players.
In regard to problematic players, I have one for that.
Okay.
All right. Kick us off.
Kick us off, good sir. And by the way, MC remaster's actually done well, not janky and broken, at least on my PC. Hey, if they ever do a remaster for PC on a game and it works better, then it's a good remaster. All right, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah, you were saying.
long story short, I got playing D&D with a friend, and Ruby, you have met this person, and you even did a bit of a thought experiment because of said person.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try to remember that later, but sure. MC, is that Mercenaries Playground of Destruction is what you're talking about? Go ahead, Inquisition.
So, I made it clear to him, look, I don't mind you messing about with the dwarves. Do as you want with them in
Oh,
my
that guy.
city. Yes. I then made it clear several times. You rolled ones, and this was an attempt to get back at people who basically wiped out one of the cities that was under your control. Your airships rolled ones in a dense forest. And you told me specifically that these were fireballs, the equivalent of.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, the forest. Well, it's a dense forest, and you rolled ones aiming at a city.
That went poorly.
little toasty.
Oh yeah, he really didn't like how that ended. I mean, really.
I also
He went,
I believe that if it's the one I think it is, I explained to this guy how to essentially destroy his entire airship fleet
Yeah.
with a critter.
yeah.
I think Gamera was the one who brought up the critter.
Might have been. I do remember some discussions along these lines.
Yeah, that was amusing.
I mentioned, look, you said you were fine with me doing the combat rules. You ruled ones repeatedly. Here's what ended up happening because of all the ones. I then went to someone who works in a fire service. I happened to be chatting to this person while he was in the voice chat with us. And he turned to me and went, do you mind if I give you some advice about tackling that forest fire you said it started? I said, no, not at all. Go ahead, give me, because it's rare I get to hear real world stuff from you.
Yeah.
And he goes, you'd have to cut down part of the forest to stop the fire from spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to be able to water the ground. The fire will just morph its way through the trees. So
Yeah.
soaking the ground's not going to do any good. You need a gap to basically stop the fire from going forward.
A fire break. Yeah.
Yes, that was actually the word he used, the fire break. I was like, right, excellent, okay. So I went on chatting to him about that. I added in the fire break because, well, if it's a real word thing, I'll add that in more than happily. Just to say, hey, I got this idea from another friend who wasn't even in the setting. Anyway, time goes on. Something else happens with the airships, and this is where Ruby has come in before and kind of wrecked the guy's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh boy. Hey Enzo, how's it going, buddy?
Now, here comes the part where it's a bit of a problem. So, completely unprompted by me, he gets annoyed at Ruby there for coming up with a plan to just instantly go, here's how I can undo your ships. He comes to me and states, hey, listen, I want to add this and this into your setting, and here's why. I think I could use it to counter a certain somebody.
Uh-huh.
I sat there going, thank you for the suggestion,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I'm going to add that in.
Oh yeah.
And I started seeing, like his suggestion was, I'm not going to say specifically what it was, but once he mentioned it, I immediately thought, okay.
Yeah.
This will be the I'm going to make a few sessions and a few D&D games for you specifically
Uh-huh.
because I don't like where this is going, and you spent apparently time thinking this up without even asking me if I wanted help with that.
Yep.
He basically didn't like the fact that we, like, Canada Gamera and I, knew the game better than him.
Sounds like.
That's what it came across to me as. It was
Yeah.
like, he got really upset. It's like, my, ultimate airship army is going to be completely badass. Nothing can stop it. And I'm like, hi, I have this spell that will completely wreck your shit. And then you brought up, hey, why use a spell when you could just release a couple of the creatures?
Yeah.
And he's like,
There are some people in this world that are just naturally adversarial, and I think that they are some of the least fun people to play any kind of game with. Not just, D&D, but like even when you're playing a theoretically supposed to be competitive game like your Warhammer or your Magic the Gathering, it just can be exhausting.
I actually have a story similar to like what you were just saying there in regard. It wasn't Magic the Gathering, it was Legend of the Five Rings.
Mm.
In my city, there was actually like a small group of, I think it was 8 or 10 people. I can't remember the exact number. The group ended up falling apart, but I was completely new to the game, and like I looked at the cards, tried to read the wee rule list that came with it,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the cards was duel a player, and if you win, draw 2 more cards, if I'm remembering the description right. I think I'm remembering that wrong, but anyway, it allowed me to duel someone. And despite me being completely new to it, I went, well, that guy's sitting closer to me. Mind if I duel you? Because this card says I can duel somebody. Now, the guy that was leading it got up, came over to me and went, right, here's what you do. Take some cards out of that part of your deck. And when he puts one down, you put one down.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever has the highest chi, or in your case chi, or in his case force, will win the duel.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, here. Yay! We ended up drawing. To me, this was brilliant because I drew my first duel with somebody, which I'd never done before. And then I went on playing, but I started noticing 1 or 2 people giving me a bit of an odd look and him a bit of an odd look.
Uh-huh.
A touch of disgust.
And then as the games went on, I started noticing he had a very, very thin skin. He really didn't like the fact I chose him for the first duel. He took it offensively.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I have guidance. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a difficulty class 2. I have advantage and guidance. If I had failed this roll, something was seriously fucking wrong.
A shadow swims across
what kind of roll was it?
Wisdom roll.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think ones automatically fail that, so.
Not fear of death, but fear of insignificance.
I mean, I've got some other stories about bad players.
A failure to her kind.
But what have the two of you got?
Well, I have seen my share of adversarial players. I have seen my share of, hey, I'm just here to kind of cause trouble. I'm not really engaging with the game as a game. I'm just, kind of goofing off, which can be very frustrating. Trying to think of one I haven't told before on stream is the thing that I'm trying to do now.
I mean, at the very least, if they're goofing off like in character, it's not as bad.
Right. And I'm fortunate that I don't usually end up with the murder hobos. That's something that I think is very frustrating to deal with, because really a murder hobo isn't engaging with the setting in a way that allows the GM to have much fun most of the time. Because, the GM sets up these challenges, but in theory, the GM wants the players to succeed. So if everything's a combat challenge, then it's just like, well, the GM loses again. Well, the GM loses again. The GM should get in some hits too, but usually the GM can do cool things that aren't necessarily combat related. Oh, here's a cool twist. Or you thought you killed this guy, but this is what actually happened because of this spell. And I think that the kind of bulldozer player that is a murder hobo sort of short circuits the GM's fun. I mean, unless the GM's just into that and like, I'm going to make a bunch of NPCs and their asses will all get kicked. That's awesome. But I'll talk about a player that Ruby and I know who has. He's generally a good player, but he has a couple of issues. And the one time that I had to call him on something, it was for essentially monopolizing game time.
Oh boy, he must. Hopefully he took that well. I mean, with him, if it's who I think it is, it is a coin flip to know if he took that well or not.
Well, he didn't at first because, if I recall correctly, I had actually talked to you about it, and you had related in different terms than I was going to, and he got upset. But then I talked to him, and we kind of sorted it out.
Yeah, I did not communicate it well, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, so basically the long and short of it was I was running a Pathfinder game set in Ravenloft, and mistake number one on my part, I had 9 players, which is too many.
Oh,
it's
Jesus,
just too many.
Yeah.
It is the most I've ever run a game for, and it was an absolute mistake on my part. I will never again try to run more than 7 players. Even that, I think, is a lot, but it's a number I can manage in many systems. But yeah, we had 9 players, all gathered around my table. We were doing, I think, almost all of it in person, though I think one of the players did move during the course of the game and was essentially playing by remote. So essentially we had one player kind of doing a Zoom in.
Right.
And yeah, the character in question he had made based on a previous character, but it was like this lawful good monk who was just constantly agonizing about every decision. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I had a couple of players who were like, oh man, we need to take care of this. Let's go smash some faces. People who were ready to go. And then here he is wanting to do a 20-minute monologue about the morality and ethics of what they were thinking about doing. And it was just not a compatible vibe. When you've got 9 players at the table, you can't have 20 minutes to do a monologue yourself.
No,
that's too much spotlight in a row.
Hell, at best you could probably get 5.
Yeah, and God bless him, I don't think our mutual friend has ever role-played anything in under 5 minutes.
Yeah. He doesn't do short. When he talks for a while.
Yeah. And, to some degree, I can understand that just because, I know he's got some issues with, like, some speech delay, so he tends to save things up to say them, which is fine, but, we have to be mindful of the fun of the other players as well. And then the player who was coming in remotely was complicating it because with any kind of Zoom call or things like that, you have a slight delay, and so he would go to start saying something, and so would this mutual friend of mine and Ruby's, and they would just keep kind of talking over each other, which just prolonged things even further. And so it was just like, okay. And then the game I was going to run after that, I knew was about, like, morally ambiguous space, not pirates, but, like, space exploiters and, people who are trying to do capitalism in space, exploiting resources and whatnot. It was going to be very morally gray.
Yeah.
And so I had the intention, like, hey, dude, I don't think this fits your temperament as a gamer, and, I was going to run it with a smaller group. And so I was going to tell him, hey, I was going to have him sit one out. And then the communication got a little garbled and he got upset, but we did work that out.
Yeah.
So he rejoined the game after that one that followed.
I've noticed with him that he is incapable of playing anything morally gray or evil.
Yeah.
He can't do it. His brain does not function that way. The worst I've ever seen him do is lawful neutral, and even his lawful neutral character was still really good. And by the time the campaign ended, he ended up being the only good character in a mostly moral ambiguous game.
Yeah.
And that was a problem.
Yeah.
No,
And like I said, he's a good player.
Yeah.
I enjoy having him around, but it just was not clicking for that game due to, like I said, his unwillingness to engage with the morally gray nature of sometimes the things that go on in Ravenloft, and to the tendency to just like monopolize game time.
Yep. Thank you for the hydrate, Ranye, and thank you for the check-in as well. Hopefully you're having a great night. Let me see. The player I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about it. I think I've talked about this story before, but it's been a while. Have I ever mentioned the Goblin story to you, Camera?
Goblin story.
The Goblin assassin?
Oh, the one, was that the one with your paladin?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I've done that one.
Yeah, in fact, I think we talked about that one on stream not too long ago.
Not too long ago, I've brought up the asshole with the daggers. All right, take a power nap. Have a great night, REA. Get some rest, my friend.
What about your original King's Willow campaign and the attention hog there?
Oh, God, him. Okay, yeah, we can bring him up. All right, so King's Willow was set in World of Darkness. That means there are vampires, werewolves, mages, all kinds of shit. All right. What name do I want to give this?
Captain Dickhead.
Yes. Anne refers to him as Captain Dickhead.
I mean, I suppose that works.
Yeah, I mean, also King Douchebag, Emperor Douche Nozzle also popped into my head.
Sure.
Short man syndrome and a tall guy.
Yeah, short man syndrome and a tall guy. Let's call him Tiny.
Tiny! Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
We're gonna call him Tiny. Tiny had fucking major issues. Now, when I started this King's Willow game, we had, I want to say 12 players.
Something like
it was a large number, and the reason why I did so many players was I knew in the first 3 games I was going to lose like 5, maybe 6 people.
Now, did you have that many in the original version, or was that... Because I remember you had that many in the revised version.
I had that many in the original as well.
Holy shit.
All right. Now, I understood, like, with the players that showed up, I was like, they wanted to at least give it a try for a game or two and see if they liked it. And based on the way their behavior was, I knew I was going to lose like 5 or 6 people. Yeah. One of them was my roommate at the time.
Uh-huh.
Which was, his name was... What was his name?
Was this the guy, Mr. Pen Issues?
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't remember his name. The roommate, basically, he jumped ship right after game 1.
Because it wasn't how he wanted to play.
It wasn't how he wanted to do it. He wanted a writing session, not so much a roleplay session.
Okay.
He fancied himself a professional author.
His writing sucked.
Yeah, and his writing sucked, man, real bad.
Okay.
It was terrifyingly bad.
It was extremely
but it was it was so pretentious. It was so bad. Anyway, it was him, his girlfriend at the time.
She stuck around for quite a while.
She stuck around for about half the game. Morg was in there. Morg's the guy we're talking about, Tiny, who was her boyfriend at the time. Mike was in the game for a little bit. Mark was. Alex was.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the others off the top of my head because they didn't stick around too much. As well as Anne. So I can't remember the other 4. The other 4 pretty much left halfway through game 1.
Okay.
That's why they're like, they just looked at me and went, this isn't kind of my shtick. I mean, I'm not really having a fun time. I'm just going to go. And I'm like, that's fair. Have a nice day.
They didn't like how the character building was going.
They didn't like how the character building was going, and they didn't like the setting.
And that's fair.
And that's fair. I was like, okay, that's fine. I expected some people to leave because of that. Roommate left after game 1. His girlfriend left after game 8 or 9. She lasted almost a dozen games.
She left because she didn't want to listen to him bitching about her being part of it.
Yeah, her boyfriend at the time was bitching that she was still in the game.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that kind of a douchebag. Tiny, on the other hand, just ran fucking game all the time. Like, I would run all the NPCs and things of that nature, but I would... You know how I run games. I let the players decide what they're going to do, and I adapt the game to that.
Mm-hmm.
He bullied all the other players
He tried that shit with me and it didn't work.
into doing what he wanted. And those he couldn't bully, he just immediately went off and did it himself anyway, and forced them to deal with the repercussions of what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which just drove all the players away. By the time we got towards the end of the game was Tiny, Morg, and Anne.
Yep.
Out of 12 people.
Because of him.
Because of him.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pull my fucking hair out.
He just wanted to push story when we wanted to RP.
He wanted to push the plot as fast as he could. He wanted the plot to focus around him to the point where when he max capped his character as a human, because he was playing a hunter and he didn't pick a conspiracy. He picked a tier 2 hunter. Which is, he has an organization, but he doesn't have conspiracy he answers to.
Right.
So all he was a redneck with a van with guns.
Yep.
And belonged to basically the equivalent of the American Union with guns.
Yep.
And
So the NRA.
yeah, so the upside with that is, as a human, you build up power very quickly. Because you don't have a lot of things to spend XP on.
Yep.
But the problem is, your power cap is much lower than everyone else's.
He capped, and we kept growing.
Yeah, he capped, and everybody else in the group kept growing, and he didn't like that. So he arranged it for a way, and he spoke with me about it, and I was like, okay, I'm not terribly against this idea, which was his character dying and coming back as a Geist.
Okay.
I was like, it gives him, some XP expenditures. It was fine. I was like, this shouldn't be the end of the world.
Did not go well for him.
It did not go well for him because he died through violence, and so he built a very combat Geist, and we already had a Geist in the party who was a social Geist.
Okay. We also had a Summer Court Changeling.
Yeah, we also had, you remember the Summer Court Changeling Anne played.
Yep.
That was her first try of that, and Morg was playing Teacup.
Point 1.
Yep.
All right? I loved Agent Teacup. That was a great character. I loved it to death. Because, she was playing the politics of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I
is...
got pulled into the politics unwillingly.
Yeah. So there was that. But he ran the game into the ground. Eventually, I tried a second time to run that game. You were involved, Borg was involved, a few others, fun people were involved.
That one.
Yep.
That went much better. He tried to insinuate himself into the second game. and no, you yelled your answer, and he kind of didn't quite hear you. And I replied quickly to this, and I was like, this was after we helped Morg get out of that situation.
Yep.
And I looked at him and went, I don't think you understand who's playing in this game. And he goes, oh, there's nobody that should have any issues with me. And I go, Morg will have issues with you. Gamera will have issues with you. Anne's gonna have issues with you. I fucking have issues with you. And that's just 4 people. I am fairly certain the rest of the fucking players, if you walked in that door, the our wonderful Lucifuge friend
Mm-hmm.
would have snapped him Tiny in two.
I would have paid good money to see that.
Because let's be brutally honest, Takashi, like if we had told him what Tiny had done to Morg, Takashi would have fucking broken him.
Well, and
Okay, who has bail money?
I don't know how much else you've heard, but I believe Tiny had some issues with Takashi's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, that would be Maisie.
Maisie, yes.
Yeah, Maisie.
So,
yeah. It was just...
Yeah.
Tiny was a horrible fucking human being.
He absolutely is a horrible fucking human being. I was never more pleased than the day that I heard he got COVID. I was just like, you know what? I can't think of a more deserving asshole.
Yeah. I just... It drove me up a wall, like, what he did. And he tried to wreck so many games.
Yeah. I mean, he basically is a person who thinks only of themselves. Everyone else is an NPC.
And he thinks he's a lawyer, too, which is hilarious.
I mean, he did eventually pass the bar, but, you know, he couldn't make it as a independent attorney. I think he did some clerking for a judge for a while. Not sure where he is now. Did you know that he has an alias under which he did some antique furniture buying and selling?
Of course.
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me at all.
He didn't pass the bar, did he?
He did.
Oh.
He did pass the bar.
That's a surprise.
I think it was it was at least his second try, maybe third, that he passed.
So he's legitimately a lawyer.
He's legitimately a lawyer, but he never got hired as one.
He did briefly work as one, but he did not stay at very long.
Feel a little better.
Okay.
Yeah, he there was a case about the local town's district sizes that he was apparently the lead attorney on. And I don't think it ended up going anywhere. And then, like I said, he went into the mode of, hey, I'm going to be a judge's clerk.
Yeah.
I take it we're still talking about problem players.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is Tiny. He was very much a problem player.
He was an all-timer problem player, and a problem human being, if we're going to be honest.
In regard to problem players, now, Ruby, this is not who you think it is, and I want to make that clear. But she's also on my, no, sorry, I have too many people list. You know how sometimes you accidentally hear something...
You actually let me sock him full force because I could.
Okay, continue.
You know how sometimes you accidentally hear something that, strictly speaking, was not meant for you to be heard, or heard by you, I should say.
Yeah.
Right.
I once heard one of my players remark, "This is why I don't like playing with him. At a moment's notice, he's got to run off to see his mother."
Ooh.
Wonderful.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not told anyone except my future wife about who this person specifically is.
Mm-hmm.
Though, Ruby, if I recall right, you were in at least one game with them. And I just now have been like, I refuse to play with you any further. If a mutual friend says, hey, I'm doing a D&D game and I've invited so-and-so and so-and-so, I actually made a point of talking to the person and stating, am I under any obligations to interact with this person in character?
Yeah.
Oof.
Because as you can imagine, I was rather annoyed.
Yeah, I would be too. Like, Jesus Christ.
I found my mark.
No, that is not something to say. Like, we get that you have your mother who is, has health issues.
Yeah,
And that,
seriously.
but we shouldn't hold that against you. That's just...
No. If someone has a condition or if someone has an obligation, you just work around that as best you can.
Me when I have to go, I just can't. Because my body says no.
Yeah. It just... No, like, what the hell?
D&D is supposed to be fun and relaxing. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Yeah, D&D should never feel like a chore.
Feels like a chore, you're doing it wrong.
Alright, Alright, so I killed that guy, so where am I supposed to go? I know Is it back to the cell?
In regard to the other person by that name, yes, Ruby, it is someone you mentioned before that I have taken to calling Bitchy McBitchface.
Oh, yeah, her. Fuck her in particular.
Going. You should not feel like it's all encompassing.
Anne has stated that no player should be basically making you feel like you should dread going to game. Hey, Think Gibbon, how's it going, buddy? I don't know. Hopefully, Think Gibbon's, what is it? Charity stream went well. I tried helping out with that a little bit. Alright, so is he here? No, I guess he went back to the encampment. Yeah, it looks like he's gone. Okay. Away we go then.
And away we go.
No, that particular woman who has been banned from my games, banned from my Discord, and has subsequently not caused any more grief, but I am fairly certain because of her belief system, I am likely certain that she has attempted to at least curse me once.
Yeah, that didn't go very well.
I'm fairly certain she has at least made the attempt. But with that being said, yeah, she killed 3 games.
In 24 hours.
In 24 hours.
Go to bed.
So, I'm not sure if I should be thinking that's impressive or if be very upset about it.
Well, if you add in the player lost point because of her, it does get impressive.
Yeah, she did cause several players to permanently leave D&D. Or, correction, they've,
They're just
hi.
now thinking about
Alright, love you too, Vix. They're just thinking just now that to come back.
Go to bed, Rose.
That should say something.
Yeah.
Might will prevail.
And it's wild.
Yeah, she thought.
There are some people in this world who think the world revolves around them. And, Tiny is that sort of person. The lady you're talking about is that sort of person. And they are just some of the most frustrating people. And in fact,
to custom designed airship unmonitored.
To an extent, I think, that is our mutual friend's problem, though he's not an asshole about it. It's just a lack of sense of, hey, other people exist too and need to have fun. This isn't all about you. In his case, because he's on the autism spectrum, we cut him some slack and understand that it's not done out of malice. But in Tiny's case, it's because he's a man-child.
Yeah, overgrown man-child. Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, but at the very least, if someone is not consciously aware of the fact that they're annoying other people, like when they find out, you could easily state, well, that's been annoying them for a while. And that
Yeah.
person will actively try to avoid doing that just because they know, well, if this annoys one person, it'll probably annoy others as well.
Yeah.
Therefore, good idea to try and avoid it.
Yeah, and for people who are not doing it intentionally, or for people who aren't twisted assholes, communication early is the key. You have a problem player, you try to bring up the problem in a respectful way and say, "Hey, this is causing issues. Other folks are not having as much fun as they could. Can we do something about this?" And maybe the answer is yes, and maybe the answer is no. But at the very least, if you address it in a respectful fashion, maybe you'll get, good results and keep a player that you otherwise would have had to get rid of.
Yeah. But sometimes you'll get players like, Manchild or Bitchlet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
they'll wreck your game.
yeah, I have to say, I am very glad that I am not in active contact with Tiny.
Sometimes you just can't be the nice DM and you have to say goodbye. As much as sometimes you don't want to.
Yeah, Anne was pointing out sometimes you have to be not the nice DM and say goodbye.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm calling you out.
no D&D is better than bad D&D. And, if cutting out a particular player is the difference between a good experience for your group and a bad experience for your group, then I think you got to cut out that player. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Not going to last much longer.
In that regards, not Bitchy McBitchface, but the person I mentioned earlier, who was on my... Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
We lost,
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we lost your audio for just a second.
Damn. Alright,
Yeah.
so...
We got you in the back.
Okay, so one of the things I noticed about this person was that they were complaining about the other D&D game that they were in. I'm not going to go into details on what was told to me, but what I will say is people turned to this person and went, "But that's the way our DM is."
Hey, AP!
And that sort of got me wondering, if people are telling you that's the way the DM is, that's our DM, that's how he normally is, I think there's a problem with you and them, you and the DM and that D&D group. Maybe not with the D&D group and the DM.
Yeah, if everybody else is happy at that table except you, it's just not the table for you.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Try something else.
And that happens. It's just like, oh, shit. But, yeah, I feel like we've covered that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good, discussion of problem players and whatnot.
Yep. Let's see what we get. Hey, AP! AP's here. AP, you missed it earlier. We had to kill 2 bots. Alright. Star Trek discussion.
Star Trek.
What, hon?
How to handle a chronically ill player in your games.
Okay, we'll add that to the wheel. And I wanted one to a wheel.
Okay.
I'm curious now, what was added?
Yeah, what's our new topic on the wheel?
How to handle a chronically ill player in your games.
Yeah.
Alright. So, we'll talk about that here in a bit. Alright. So, Star Trek discussion. Apparently Star Trek Online, by the way, has new ownership.
Really?
And they went out of their way to get rid of all of the workers, or a lot of the workers who were in charge of design of Cryptic Studios.
Huh.
The fan base sees this as, you know that meme with the Hulk, where he holds out his hands and he says, "I see this as an absolute win"?
Yeah.
That's the player fan base right now. Because Cryptic Studios has been apparently screwing things up royally.
Okay.
And then on top of that, Cryptic was bought out by a company called Perfect World Studios.
Vaguely rings a bell.
It should, because every freemium shovelware garbage game, a lot of them on computer tends to be owned by them.
I see.
Including the competition for City of Heroes.
Yeah, I mean, Cryptic was Champions Online.
Yep. And Perfect World Studios owned Champions Online when they bought Cryptic. And their shtick was microtransaction upon microtransaction.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well, at least their microtransaction system was one of the least bad I've seen in a while.
Okay.
The reason why is because you could earn rare currency with the game. Which was in Star Trek dilithium. All right?
Right.
You could use dilithium to buy the paid currency.
Okay.
And it was part of a marketplace where players would trade dilithium for the paid currency.
Gotcha.
Now, if you have ever taken a single economics class, you could see where the problem in this is.
Yeah, I can see where it might go.
I'd like to introduce inflation.
Yeah.
And what made it even worse, and get ready for this one because this is bad, there was a max cap for sale on the dilithium for each Zen. And the max cap was 500 dilithium per Zen.
Okay.
What that ended up creating was, when the market hit max cap, people would put in their sale for dilithium, so they're 500 dilithium per Zen, which is like, okay, it is what it is. The problem is, if nobody's selling Zen, the dilithium never sells. And that's where Star Trek Online is right now.
The market completely frozen.
The market is completely frozen. And the only people who have Zen are people like myself, who way back when we had, before Cryptic went to Perfect World Studios, I bought a lifetime membership.
So did I.
So I get 500 Zen per month for free. Because I paid $150 way back when.
Yep.
And I thought that was a good investment, because I was like, I'm going to play this for a while.
Right.
All right?
Fuck yes.
I see you were smart enough to get it when it was on sale.
Yeah, I got it when it was on sale. Normally, the lifetime sub is $300. Yeah.
You know, and while I get it, the Foundry was something they wanted to take away. I think you actually played the one Foundry map I made, Ruby.
Yep. And it was decent.
Would you like to hear something funny about that map? It took me 3 months, because my computer was that old. It would have issues with me trying to move stuff on the map. So I would have to move it and then wait like a full 5-10 seconds for it to move. And that was before I added in the dialogue or anything else.
Wow.
Yeah. No, making maps, like good maps, in the Foundry took a lot of resources. And it took a while.
And like, one of the things I remember most is like you and several other people just killed the little, I think they were called, what do you call the Klingon dogs?
Cards.
Targs. You and several other people killed the Targs as soon as you saw them, only to find out later on they were the last in a breed of nearly dead Targs that the owner was trying to bring back from extinction.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Womp womp. Yeah, that went poorly.
This is gonna feel good.
You know, I actually got told twice you're an evil person.
Man,
For that.
yeah. I mean, what do you want from me?
I even had several hints. The woman like the governess was like, there's something I have to tell you. I can't remember what it was. And when you get close enough to actually spot the Targs, I had writing come up on the screen. Wild Targs?
No, like, I saw them, I was like, oh look, XP. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't playing a good guy.
Okay, a few things I will say about STO. The last couple of months, I have been just forcing myself to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with the summer event on. Something I actually really enjoyed, so much so in the past that I played it for so long I started seeing it as soon as my eyes closed.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it was... Some of the events, they really didn't do well. And that's fine. It's all well and good, but it's like, Jesus Christ.
I will say though, the summer event, not the winter event is one I take great delight in, just because everybody else seems to have bloody hate it.
Yeah.
In other Star Trek gaming related news, I don't know if you heard about this, Ruby, but do you remember, I think it was Star Trek Infinite, the Stellaris related one?
Yes, that one.
Yeah, it's completely shut down now. They basically did like patches and support for it for I think less than a year, but the sales weren't there, and so I found out that I think it was last November or December they released a final support patch, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not shocked, because let's be brutally honest, if you wanted Star Trek Stellaris, yeah, just fucking play Stellaris.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to someone else about it, and they're like, yeah, but the mod packs that you have for Stellaris are so good. Why would you bother playing the official one? I'm like, that's a good point. I mean, I think there is some value in that official game, but they really would have had to continue to develop it for that value, I think, to be, more than just minimal.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Though that is a good example of modders outdoing a professional company.
Yeah, because Star Trek New Horizons, I think it's what it's called, or something like that. The mod pack for Stellaris that's Star Trek is still going. It's still being updated.
Yeah.
Mind you, the Federation is still broken as fuck.
As it should be. Filthy Xenos.
I'm sorry, I like my Romulan Star Empire. Fuck you!
Yeah.
And the fact that they finally added cloaking technology to the fucking game, I can now use my Romulans appropriately.
Yeah.
Because the first time I ever played it, Romulans couldn't cloak.
That seems pretty shitty.
Oh yeah.
So we talked a little bit about CCGs earlier, and it has reminded me that once upon a time there was a Star Trek CCG.
I remember this.
Yeah, I believe it was Decipher that had put it out, and It was decent. I had some cards for it, but eventually I traded or sold off my Star Trek cards to focus on the CCGs that I was more interested in. But a friend of mine, Eric, he retained his cards for a good bit longer. And one day he was like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really have any cards anymore." But he's like, "Well, I've got a couple of decks." And he was playing his Federation deck that had all the cool characters, like the entire crew of the Enterprise and the DS9 folks. And I think he had two other decks, and I selected his Romulan deck. And I am gonna be honest, I don't remember some of the specifics of how the mechanics worked, but basically, you kind of went up and down a planet line, and you did missions so that you could get cards.
Right.
And well, one of the ways he put together this deck, I was like, okay, well, I've got this cool satellite that lets me peek at like the top two cards of my deck and rearrange them. And then if I do the mission, I get to draw that card. So this seems like really good deck manipulation. And I destroyed his ass. Like, just, it was comically one-sided. And what he later told me that he found out was that Romulan deck that he built was basically premised on a tournament combination that had been banned.
Oh.
It's like he was like, "Oh, I went and discovered that this Romulan deck that I had put together actually is banned from tournaments because of exactly that interaction."
Whoops.
I was like, "That makes sense. That seemed pretty powerful." So yeah, I got to play the Romulans and just absolutely wreck the face of the Federation.
The deck I had that this pissed off people to no end was technically a 2.5 faction deck.
Uh-huh.
Alright, and the reason why I say half faction is one was neutrals.
Yeah.
Alright. The neutrals I had were mostly the like ground people.
Yep.
I didn't have too many neutral ships. I had a couple, but not too many. But the deck was a Romulan Klingon Alliance deck.
Okay.
And suffice to say, oh boy, did I piss people off with it.
Huh.
Because I used a lot of Klingon ships to do damage. Alright, they were my, like, attack force. My Romulan ships, I had, like, 2 or 3 of them in there. And while they could fight decently, their goal was to sneak around and help the neutrals and the Romulans accomplish the planet missions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cards I had in that deck allowed me, because remember how you said Romulans were deck manipulation, and that was very true. You remember how all the missions had dilemmas under them?
Yep.
A couple of the cards I had allowed me to, if I was over a planet, look at the dilemmas. All right?
Yes. Maybe that was it. Yeah.
And then I could use that in combination with another card, which was not illegal. I remember this, at least at the time, because I used this in a tournament and I pissed someone off. I moved one of the dilemmas off of the planet I was on, because I put it there.
Right.
And I put it directly under my opponent's starbase.
Okay.
So if he wanted to do the mission under his starbase, which he just did not have quite enough resources, I made it infinitely harder.
Right.
Because it was the dilemma was called the Borg Raid. If you put it under a standard planet, you only have to have, I forget what the strength score was, but you eventually had to have the strength score of 19. Or no, sorry, 18. Yeah. You had to have 18. Alright? Which isn't terrible. That's like, okay, you bring 2-3 security guys, you're good.
Yeah.
4 tops. Alright? Depending on if you don't have high ratings. But if you put it under an opponent's starbase, or like outpost, the numbers flip. And you have to have a strength of 81.
Huh.
Which is near fucking impossible.
Yeah.
You have to have like 40 plus people just to be able to take that thing on. And I did that, and I pissed off so many people with that trick.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was, I was a big fan of using the Q nets. Which, you know that line you were talking about?
Yeah.
The Q net puts an impassable wall on it.
Okay.
There are ways to get rid of it with like event removing cards and stuff like that. But my deck had 4 Q nets. And what I would do is I'd combine Q nets with where no man has gone before, which allows you to go from one end to the line to automatically teleport to the other.
Right, yeah.
Which was very helpful. And then if my opponent did that, I put a second Q net on the other side of his outpost. Essentially trapping him inside his outpost.
Yeah.
And that annoyed people to no end.
Naturally.
You didn't play to win. You played to piss people off.
Yeah, I played to annoy people, essentially.
Yeah, I remember how Anne plays Munchkin, so she doesn't have much room to talk.
Yeah, Gamera says he remembers how you play Munchkin, so you don't have much room to talk there.
I picked one person, and it was the same person for the entire night. I didn't do it to everybody in the game. I just picked one person at the table who would not win. 90% of the time, it was you!
Yeah. Yeah, that...
Because you wouldn't get mad at me for it. Unless something really pissed me off, and then it was them.
Yeah. He tried to push me. Fuck him in particular.
But I did end up winning a lot with that strategy, because everybody would try.
Yeah. So apparently the Star Trek CCG or TCG still exists. It's on.
Yes.
It's online.
There are people who are still playing.
Yep. So I'll have to see where I could find it, but it does exist. Fuck, Will just got knocked down. Another... God damn it, there are so many fucking goblins. So many goblins. Can I reach him is the question. I can.
Inquisition, are you a Star Trek fan at all?
Yeah, that's putting it bluntly, mildly.
I am very much a Star Trek fan. And so we mentioned Star Trek Online earlier. I wanted to touch on one thing in that regard before I move on to something that was mentioned that annoyed me a little bit in regard to Star Trek itself.
Sure.
When the Foundry shut down completely, I heard a few conflicting reports about it, so I'm not going to bring up the fact why it was shut down or if there was another reason for it. One of the reasons I liked that was it actually kickstarted me trying to learn English better, and that basically involved me going to YouTube, saying the sentence, and YouTube at the time would actually say, "Did you mean to search for this?" And it would come up with the entire sentence properly. And I'd copy paste that in, so I would actually spend like a week getting the dialogue done properly. And it was through that I learned you needed full stops. You needed like the wee things to have you go and then continue with the rest of your sentence. Now, I'd never known any of this, but I started seeing that used, and I went, I wonder what that's used for. Like, through the Foundry, I actually learned that. And this was about a year before I met you, Ruby.
Right.
I messed around with the Foundry for a while. All I did was create random rooms and drop a bunch of stuff in it. Then I realized, after the Foundry had been shut down, you could go into these rooms where it would randomly spawn enemies and you could get achievements for killing them.
Let's cook with fire, baby.
And I had been playing the game for years before that and didn't know.
That happens sometimes. Sometimes you come across something new and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What annoyed me was I really wanted to get all the achievements for killing the Borg just so I could create one that went, I survived the extermination.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the other things. I take it the two of you know of In the Pale Moonlight.
Great episode.
Hmm.
You recognize the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just looking at something in Minecraft, so I'm not being as extra verbal as I would be. Go ahead, Inquisition.
So, I got into a voice chat with a group of people, and one of the things that got brought up was In the Pale Moonlight. I mentioned that, I think the Romulans, even if it is the Republic, would go nuts if they find out what Cisco did.
Or Garrick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, even the
Oh,
Roman
God.
Republic would kind of lost their shit.
Now, I was directly told by someone, after 30 years, I doubt they'd do anything about it.
Apparently they don't know Romulans that well.
I sat there, stunned silence, because as my name on Twitch kind of gives away, I'm from a certain place, and a few things happened here 30 years ago that people are still very upset about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Jesus Christ.
To the point I actively try to avoid unintentionally, like, for example, there was a stream of yours, Ruby, not so long ago, where someone asked me what part of Ulster was I from. I remarked the part with two names.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was an attempt to avoid things as well, because I'm not picking a side, no.
Yeah, no,
Then
you don't
there-
want... Oh! It's getting up there in time.
Then there was the one last thing that annoyed me was, and I actually have a bit of an ongoing joke with someone from the south. According to Star Trek, Ireland united in 2024.
Yes.
Yeah, the Irish Unification Wars. Yep.
Yes.
I have a bit of an ongoing thing with someone, and I fully intend to remark, ding dong, Star Trek was wrong when 2025 comes rolling around.
Hey, you never know. Star Trek could be right and get you.
Hey, the Tories in Parliament very nearly lost the lead there. I don't know if things have calmed down or accelerated since the Labour Party got in there, but it honestly looked like 2024 was becoming very credible.
Yeah. I'm
At
waiting.
least from the outside.
I'm waiting for the Bell Hook riots.
Yes. Yeah.
I am both worried about that and also looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. All right. So it is about that time, gents.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Ladies.
And ladies. Yeah, I forgot. Anne's here. Ladies, too. All right. So let us raid out. We're raiding someone named Chef Tennessee. I do want to apologize for the scuff earlier. Come on, really? You're going to be that much of a pain in the ass. Just want their name. Can I have their name, please? Thank you. They're playing Project Zomboid. AP goes, and me, I'm lady!
And Wizen points out, NBs.
Yes. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'm fucking... Fuck. All
Gives me
of
life.
you.
No booze for any of you.
No booze for... No ale for you.
That's okay.
It never gets old. Uh-huh. So if you were one of my Many tavern visitors, please use the following raid message. If you are one of my few tavern patrons, please use the following raid message. Oh, it's showing the raid because I left the display capture up. Whoopsie. All right. Never normal welcome. Join just in time for the raid. Hey, that's fair enough. Fair enough. So yes, tomorrow is Wildcard Wednesday, where I will be playing Civilization 5 with Anne. Anne is going to attempt to kill my civilization, or at least outstrip me science-wise. I am going to try to hunt her down and kill her.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to stop her, is to just straight up kill her. So, there is that. So that's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then next Monday, we'll be going back to the Republic side on Star Wars.
Radio.
All right, so with that being said, please make sure you take care of yourselves mentally and physically. That's always important. And I know you come to Ruby's Resplendent Tavern for the witty banter, but you stay for my fuck-ups. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Toodles.
Toodles.